Hello and welcome everybody. So for today's episode, it's an e-podcast. So we invited Matt to come and talk to us online. He is a certified master hypnosis uh, and expert in recreational hypnosis. He practices hypnosis in his current life. He does shows. A lot more things to learn from him. He's based off of Prince Edward Island, which is all the way in the east coast of Canada. Um, and we're gonna see how life is all about on that part of the country, how things goes on over there. So yeah, let's see if we can learn a thing or two. I think we're ready to go at this point, so I can just go ahead and welcome you. Welcome, Matt. It's been a long minute for us since we talked last.
It, it has been a long time. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no problem. Anytime, anytime. You're most welcome to come in anytime. I hope this grows and I hope it goes good. And yeah, we're gonna do multiple podcasts of any experience any new thing comes up, and feel free to just come over, talk to me, and just message me. You're always welcome.
Yeah, sure thing.
I feel like we always had a good connection when we were working together. Yeah, because you feel the vibe, right? Like we have other colleagues that we were working with us, so Gagan and Hardeep, and you make those connections for life, I think. And yeah, and you don't forget about them. Yeah. So after a few years, I reached out to you because I want to know what's going on, man. We can start with um, the basic question: How you been?
Oh man, I've been really good. Um, got lots of different projects going on in different parts of my life, and trying to keep things diversified. So I would try not to stay still for too long.
Yeah.
Generally pretty busy, but overall good.
Yeah, that's good. Busy is good. Like uh time goes by, and if you end up saying you're busy, like let's say if we were working together, like we were working together for a while, right? At that time, when we say it was busy, that the time goes by fast. Like you were involved so much that you don't understand, like you don't know the time. Sometimes you're sitting by for like 5 minutes, and that feels like 15 minutes sometimes. But if you're busy, sometimes doing what you want, sometimes doing what you need to do, the time just goes by, and and you don't feel it. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um,
Busy is better than idle, but you need some rest periods in there too.
mhm. Better stuff, man. We're gonna cover all at least as much as I know, and then feel free to just elaborate on all the topics. Um, Tell us about the main topic I want to dive into is because this the goal of this podcast is to give knowledge to the viewers, right? So we're not like talking about people and stuff. It's just gonna be whatever like you learned, share with us, with the users, with the viewers, and then I, I keep on saying users because I'm in IT, so every time it's because I've spoken that word so many times. It's all
Right.
users, but I feel happy about it. I don't no problem. So viewers, tell
Hey,
me
hey
about.
man, the users, that'll just be the group for your group of fans, the name for your fan group.
Mhm. Your expertise in hypnosis. One of the things that you've always been involved in is hypnosis, hypnotism. Um, I don't think me or even a lot of people from like my YouTube community, whatever, they don't know what how deeper hypnosis can go, and we're gonna see if we can uncover some of that, and we're
Right.
gonna see how you use it, right? Like as you pretty much an expert at this point. Would you call yourself an expert at hypnosis?
My official title is Master Hypnotist, so
Mhm.
I did get that extra certification, but overall, yes, I would generally consider myself an expert, which uh, can be odd to say at times. But
So you
uh,
have to get. How do you get that title? You have to get certified. You said.
right, so hypnosis, especially in Canada, is wildly unregulated.
Okay.
So you got to be really careful when you're looking for hypnotists because anybody can call themselves a master, anybody can just call themselves a hypnotist.
Yeah.
But there is a process, and it can be looking different for people. It's always good to find a mentor and a teacher, which is what I did. I found a guy who operates out of London, Ontario. So I traveled up there and took several courses with him, and then paired that with some at-home study because I wasn't going to, uh, live there for months at a time while learning. So I did my main core classwork or coursework, if you want to call it, with him. Then I came back and did a bunch of case studies to learn the skills, figure out what works for me, what doesn't work, and report it back to him with those case studies so that he was able to give me feedback. And I still keep in touch with him to this day too. So it's not like it's a lifelong learning process.
It's
So
he's your guru right at this point. So you're disciplined. You have to like is it one of those things in hypnosis as well, or is it just like a oh no I got certified so like okay
I mean, it's up to the practitioner. I'm a kind of person who I'm always looking to expand on my knowledge base, and I like to always leave room to grow. Uh, I know a lot of people, when they get into something, they want to reach a level where it feels like they're the master, they're the one, they know everything above all else. But to me, if you get to that spot, that just is telling yourself you can't grow anymore and get better.
yeah
So
yeah
it's just about keeping that, lifelong learning mindset.
it's um it's also a skill. Do you do it full time right now?
No, no, I work full time for a company.
Okay.
I don't really want to get into that here, but I do it on a part time basis
Okay. So
and try and keep things moving
okay,
with that.
what is recreational hypnosis? Because I know I saw one of the videos, and I think one of your videos in Instagram,
Yeah,
and I noticed that term recreational hypnosis. So I was curious about that because and what other type of hypnosis are there?
right. So uh, on my website, I offer both stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy services, and then in the hypnotherapy, I have listed recreational hypnosis as um, one of the packages that I offer, and that would basically just be for somebody who wants to experience what hypnosis is on a one-on-one. Maybe they're curious about what it's like to be hypnotized, or they just want to see what it can do for them, but they don't have a specific goal that they're working towards. So, like generally with hypnotherapy, you have a goal. Like most common is quit smoking
Hmm.
or weight loss or whatever.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm getting a message from my wife. I might have locked her out. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
Very rare that this happens, but 1 minute.
That's okay.
I ran, I ran so fast. Um, I don't want to break the momentum. You said there was other, so you use it as a therapy as well, and then there's also you said you also do stage. So that's usually the one that we see,
Yes.
usually like on the videos and stuff, right? The one on the
Yes.
stage.
Yeah. So stage is my main passion when it comes to hypnosis. I love being in front of a crowd. You know, getting those laughs out of people. Just generally entertaining, making people hopefully happier leaving the show than they were when they came in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I focus most of my effort on. The hypnotherapy side is kind of just I have it there as an offering. If something that somebody wants or needs, I'm willing to work with them, but it's not my main focus. But you can do some really cool things with hypnotherapy too. Like my main section with hypnotherapy is pain management and sport improvement.
Pain management, sports improvement. What are these? So I'm guessing like can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So pain management would be, let's say somebody comes in with chronic pain, like I don't know, maybe they hurt their wrist 10 years ago and still bothering them. Or have you heard of phantom pains?
No.
Phantom pains would be like if somebody had their limb amputated or removed in some way, and it still feels like they have the limb there and it hurts where there shouldn't be a hand. So it'll be like my hand's cut off, my hand's gone,
Right.
but the hand still feels like it's there and it still hurts.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I can use hypnosis uh, to make the person no longer feel that pain, to be
And
able to recognize that the limb isn't there and that
oh,
it's
and
gone and it won't hurt.
that stays forever. Like that. It's a because he. I'm still trying to understand. The pain is still there. He just doesn't feel it.
So the pain is it's in your mind. The pain
Mhm.
is something that your mind registers and sends signals to make you feel it,
And then
right?
you
So
right.
yeah, so with hypnosis, you're basically telling the brain to ignore those pain signals.
Oh, yeah. It's
And
so
then
fascinating.
it'll last so long as there's something called self-hypnosis. So as long as the person keeps practicing their own self-hypnosis at home, that will continue for the rest of their life.
Oh, so it's almost like a, but yeah. So it's really like like a therapy where you go and then you help them with the, like you said, that pain. They they have to, just like how we go to hospitals, like how we do therapy. If let's say we go to
Yes,
physiotherapy, they patch you up and then they fix you, but then they also say, okay, keep on doing these exercises, and
exactly.
then so that way it slowly fades away or it goes away, kind of thing. Is it similar?
Yeah, it would be similar to that.
Right.
And there is the short-term uses of it too. Like, I can't give any names or anything for confidentiality reasons, but I did have a client one time who they had to get a tooth extracted at the dentist, and they were terrified of the needle. Like they did not want to have that needle put in their mouth. And I told them, we can just work on that and get rid of that fear. And they're like, no, I don't want to deal with it. I just want to go in. I don't want to feel the pain. So I hypnotized them so that when they tapped their jaw 2 times, it would make their mouth go numb. So
When
they
they
did
tap.
that.
Oh.
Yeah, so when they go like this 2 times on their face, it would trigger their mouth to go numb.
Ah.
So they went to the dentist. They did that. Their mouth went numb, and the dentist just removed the tooth. No problem.
And you said they did that, so it's not. How, I thought you were the one doing it, like doing the hypnosis to them.
Yes, I gave them the suggestion.
Right.
So I told them, whenever you tap your side of your face 2 times,
Right.
your mouth will go numb. It's the same
So
thing you see in like. Have you ever seen a stage show before for hypnosis?
just yours.
Just mine. Okay. No, I just couldn't remember if you had been to one of mine before.
We was the Christmas party when I don't know if you remember, but we went to one of the Christmas parties and you had your show where you had those. So
Yes.
the girls that we used to work with,
Yes, I
you
do.
hypnotize those for now. I don't know. Yeah, you remember probably now.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. Yeah, so it's like that in the show. Whenever I say, when you open your eyes, your hand will be stuck to the table or stuck to your leg or whatever.
Right.
It's just taking that same principle and applying it somewhere else.
Right. But then for because on the stage it only stays temporary, right? So up until only you say, and then I guess once they leave the stage, then they're kind of on their own sort of thing.
Yeah, on stage at the end of the show, I make sure to remove all of the suggestions at the end so that way nothing weird will happen with people outside of it. So that if I gave somebody a suggestion on stage, that every time, I don't know, they saw a green light, their hand would shoot up in the air.
Exactly.
At the end of the show, I'm removing that suggestion by basically saying that, all suggestions I gave you in the show are going to be fading away. When you open your eyes, you'll feel fully refreshed, fully relaxed. You'll remember you had a great time, all that kind of stuff. So then when they wake up, there's no lingering effects, except for the ones that I build into the end of the show.
Wow. So does it ever happen where there's like, I don't want you to speak about your incidents or anything like that. Of course not. But because I'm worried about, does anything ever happens where like if that the end part doesn't work, or if that they get stuck or something. Maybe it's a silly question, but
No, no,
you know
no.
what I mean.
That's a great question, and I love this question. And I talk about this at the start of every one of my shows.
Okay, so let's
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah. So I'm going to go into a little bit more depth than I would at the show. There's something called an ab reaction in hypnosis. And that just stands for abnormal reaction. So that would be if you give somebody a suggestion and they're taking it in a way that you could not predict or is just abnormal. So uh, it is possible to have a show where you give somebody a simple suggestion and then maybe they start crying, maybe they freak out. Anything can happen. You're dealing with people, members of the public. So as a hypnotist, you have to be trained on how to deal with these situations and know what to do. Uh, and it's not that it's difficult to deal with, but you have to go against instinct because your first instinct, at least my first instinct, is if somebody's freaking out, I want to put a hand on their shoulder and reassure them. Right? Be
Right.
like, man, everything's okay. That is one of the worst things you can do with hypnosis because if somebody, let's say I give somebody a suggestion that they're riding on a roller coaster and I don't know they're afraid of heights and they're freaking out. If I put my hand on their shoulder and say, "Hey, man, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine," the act of putting the hand on the shoulder can actually anchor that feeling into them to make it much more difficult to pull them out of that situation.
Don't tell me it's fine when it's not fine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what do you do then?
Yes. So I would give them the suggestion. First off, I would give them suggestion to sleep. So that way we would stop everything. And then from there, I would give them a few calming suggestions saying, take a moment, find the place in your mind that brings you the most happiness. It can be anywhere. It might be the beach, might be a lake, might be your own living room. Just imagine yourself there. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3. And then after that, I'll let them calm down for a second. Then I would wake them up and have them, sit off to the side of the stage or go back to the seat in the audience at that point. And I would tell them, or I'd make sure that they know after the show's over, I want to, have a quick talk with
Ah, okay.
them. Yeah.
That
But
makes
these
sense.
situations are extremely rare.
Oh yeah, of
Like
course.
I've been doing stage hypnosis for what? Almost 10 years now. Maybe almost 10 years. And I've only had one bad reaction in my time doing that on stage.
Uh, would you be able to elaborate on it, or just a quick,
Uh, it
or
was
we just
I
want to
can't
know
really
what
give
kind?
any details about it for person's privacy and everything. I
Okay.
highly doubt anyone would be able to track them down, but they
Yeah, yeah.
basically just had like an anxiety attack on stage.
Okay. That's basically what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Realistically, like what kind of things happen? You already mentioned that to me, but I just like it's like on a reality, what kind of things happen with the anxiety attack? So when does that when did it happen? When you started the on them, or like?
No, it just started after I gave a simple suggestion. Like every one of my shows, I usually do a suggestion where everybody thinks they're in a dance competition and they're
Right.
competing for a big prize money, so they'll jump up and start dancing. And this one person was just really anxious about dancing. Maybe they
Uh,
had some social anxiety or something. I don't know because I don't, didn't get into that with them afterwards. But um, yeah, they just kind of had a panic attack and they were freaking out at the back of the stage. And I noticed them, so I just sat them down, did what I explained to you, and spoke to them after the show, and everything was all good.
nice. How do you know if everything was all good? Because they could like. I mean, obviously I'm not doubting
Yeah.
you or anything, but on you trained for this one, so I know for sure like so many years and so much of you probably know at this point what you're doing for sure. So like I'm just coming from like a dumb hypnosis viewer perspective. So I'm just gonna ask you all the silly questions that I have in my
Oh,
mind.
no, no such thing as a silly question.
So how do you know if it's all fine when they went home and such?
Well, I spoke to them after the show. So, like, I took them aside into a private area and I had a conversation with them.
Right,
And I put them back into hypnosis. I took them out of it a few times. And I basically did impromptu therapy session with them
right.
using techniques called parts therapy,
Hmm.
where I basically had them going into hypnosis and looking at the parts of himself that were causing that anxiety and having him change them with it's hard to explain briefly. I could give like a
Right.
5-hour seminar on parts therapy, but basically, you visualize whatever it is that's causing you an issue in your mind, and change physical aspects. So I would have you, let's say you're addicted to smoking. I could have you imagine smoking, and now imagine smoking as a shape, and then as a color, as a texture, all these different things. And then I would go through that list of things again and have you change something about it. So maybe you identified smoking as being square. So I'd say, okay, change that to something else. Okay, now it's an oval. Okay, good. Maybe you saw it as red. Change that to a different color. Then you do that going through the list, and it creates a new perception on it, and it can help with breaking habits or gaining new perspective. But hypnosis isn't magic. It's not
It's not
like
magic. Yeah.
no, it's not a one size fits all. So that technique may work well with one person, and with somebody else, you'd have to be completely different.
Right. And I'm guessing on perspective from your side, right? I want to see how that looks from your side. At
Right.
this point, you already know that like you're probably comfortable with the shows and everything. Has there ever been any moment where it was huge and where you were like worried or where you were a little anxious yourself?
Ah, honestly, not really that I can think of off the top of my head. I have had shows go poorly in the past. Any entertainer will. It's the reality of
Yeah.
doing the business, but I've never really felt overly anxious when working with something. One thing about being a hypnotist and performing hypnosis especially is there's a lot based on your own confidence level. So if I'm going in and I have any doubts in my mind, like, oh, maybe this won't work tonight, then the chance that the show will be poor is much, much, much higher because people will be able to catch on to that vibe and be like, oh man, this guy is, he seems nervous. He doesn't know fully what he's talking about. Is he the hypnotist? And the whole point of doing a stage show is making everybody in the audience see you as the hypnotist.
Right.
And that's what lets them find, not find, make them susceptible to suggestion. Like if I walk into a room and nobody knows who I am, and I introduce myself as a hypnotist, people automatically have a bunch of preconceptions about what a hypnotist is. So that if that's a person who wants to be hypnotized, that's already priming them to go into hypnosis. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if I let's say I've been working with somebody for a long time, like or or let's say even I went and talked to one of my teachers from elementary school who knew me as a little kid. And I said, "Oh, hey, I'm a hypnotist now." They're still going to have that mental image of me as a little kid. So it will be extremely difficult for me to make them see me as a hypnotist, to have them then allow me to hypnotize.
So
That's
it's
why if you ever look at any hypnosis forums or anything, people always talk about generally avoid trying to work with family because they're not seeing you as a hypnotist. They're seeing you as, that little kid who threw up on the floor and tipped over the vase.
right. So why does it? Yeah, because it makes sense. It makes sense. They have their perspective um of you in their mind is different. Makes it difficult for you to to hypnotize them or to perform hypnosis with them. Because
Yes,
then
exactly.
they okay, then it's a perspective, right? If it's an unknown person, they see you as a hypnotist, then like they don't know what to expect. They don't know. They're just gonna kind of follow you.
Exactly.
Whether they if they're a family, if they know you, then they're gonna know where it's coming from. They're gonna know what's happening behind it. So they kind of like, or they know you, right? So
Yes.
it's you. They know your mind, and you're trying to do their mind. It's something like that, right? Like, and that doesn't.
It's more of like with a stranger, like they don't know you. They see you as a hypnotist, so they automatically feel like you have more credibility,
Mhm.
and they're not going to be questioning what you're doing as much. Where if I'm trying to hypnotize a family member, the whole time when I'm saying, okay, think of think of your happy place, think of the beach. They're going to be thinking in their head, why is he asking me to think about the beach? What's going on here? What's he trying to do?
Right.
So it's just about removing those. barriers because hypnosis is a willing process. Uh, there are people who are afraid of being hypnotized against their will, and that's something that can't really happen because in order to be hypnotized, you have to willingly accept the suggestions that are being given.
Hmm.
That's not to say that I couldn't convince somebody to do something that they didn't want to do without hypnosis. Like anything that you can convince somebody to do without hypnosis by just talking to them normally is something that you can convince them to do with hypnosis.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, like, if let's say I'm working with you and I said, okay, I'm gonna when you open your eyes, you're gonna have a desire to go down the street and rob this bank and shoot it up, right? You would wake up and be like, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy?
Right.
But maybe if you were an unhinged person and I gave you that same suggestion, then you might, get up and go running out the door and do that.
Right. So it's about, yeah, you have to. That's interesting. Now that kind of changes my perspective a little on hypnosis, because I was always, now I come from a perspective where, in back home, like, just like, I guess, just the nature of the country, third world, and a lot of people being there. Um,
Right.
Now is just amazing. Like, a lot of information now. People are informative, much more informative. Everything is fast, amazing. Um, but like, when I've been in Canada when I was, right. So I basically, when I started knowing things, started knowing world, I came here. So this is like all the world that I know. But I've seen, how it is. So my perspective, my childhood, like, perspective of hypnosis is, um people performing obviously in bad way. So it's a little negative, in little negative, or, um
Right.
right? So it's usually, we've seen it in movies and like here there, where they make you do things that you don't want to do. So I'm like, now that I think about it, I'm like, no, I don't think that works that way.
Right. Exactly. If it makes you feel better, I've never seen a movie or a TV show accurately portray hypnosis.
Ah,
Like I've never seen it where it looks super super realistic. Um, that might make a good YouTube series. You know that guy who does legal stuff? Maybe I could
yeah.
do something like that with hypnosis.
Sorry, which legal stuff? Which
Oh,
guy?
it's a YouTube channel called Legal Legal.
Oh,
He
no,
ha-
no, I know. I thought I was thinking about a different guy.
yeah, no, he has a bunch of videos where he like watches law TV shows and he talks about how realistic it is.
Oh, funny. Um, so you said about the audience, right?
Yes,
They only follow you. What kind of audience comes to your shows? Is it just general all type of audience, or?
all types. Yeah,
um,
I've done shows. My favorite shows are with high school age students, like for safe grads kind of thing. Just because high schoolers are so they don't have as many inhibitions around it. Like they're willing to go up and give it their all and have a really fun time. But I've done shows for crowds that are like 60 plus before and have had them go great. Um, really, are all ages are good. I won't hypnotize somebody on stage under 16 is
Okay.
generally the cutoff. If a junior high wanted me, I would only work with the grade 9 students. I think that's like around 14 or so. But that will be in a room full of, those students. But if I was doing a public show, like, actually, I have a show coming up in March. It hasn't been announced yet publicly by them, but it's going to be a show for mostly adults there. So when I ask for volunteers, I'll be asking for people who are 18 and older first. And then afterwards, if I don't have all the seats filled up, then I would let people who are maybe 17 volunteer and then 16.
Right. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, it must be great doing all those shows, and, like, smaller shows and bigger shows. Feel like there's any difference between, or it's usually like, how's your approach with, bigger audience and smaller audience?
I love having a bigger audience. It just when you're working with volunteers, you need volunteers to come up there. I make a joke at the start of all my shows. I can't hypnotize an empty seat. So getting enough volunteers on stage is very important at the start of the show. But I did a show, was it last year? I think it was last, not this Christmas that just happened, but the one before. I was sick, sick. Like I was losing my voice, but these guys hired me. It was for a family Christmas party, and there
Mm.
was maybe 15 or 20 people there max. I couldn't even use my microphone in the show because it was just picking up the phlegm in my voice. So I had to do it analog with just my projection.
Um,
And it was one of the best shows I've ever done.
oh,
Like, out of those people, I had like 8 or 9 of them under, and they were having a lot of fun. They were really responsive to suggestions. So the size of the crowd really doesn't matter as long as the people want to be there.
okay,
But overall, a bigger crowd is generally going to make a better show
right.
because you can feed off the reactions. You can do a lot of other things that you can't do with a smaller show.
It's a show, right? You want more people coming in, more people engaged, more people are engaged, the more it's hype, the more it's a hype. It's a feedback loop, right? So you constantly getting
Exactly.
feedbacks from what you're throwing out there. That's kind of like, and that gives you more energy as you go, and then that makes more that makes the show grow better and nicer, right?
Exactly. Yes. But I'm going to tell you a secret about doing the shows too.
Tell me.
For the people who are choosing to volunteer and get hypnotized, they're going to have more fun than the people who sit in the audience.
Oh,
There's a common misconception that people forget what happens when they're under hypnosis.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. And they can. It's a choice. So at the end of the show, I always give the suggestion that you can choose to remember what happens, or you can choose to forget and just know that you'll be left with happy memories or a happy feeling of the time. But if you choose to remember, you can choose to remember everything, or you can choose to remember bits and pieces.
Wow.
So the people that choose to remember, let's say I gave them a suggestion, well, that they're floating in zero gravity. They're actually experiencing floating in zero gravity inside their mind. That wouldn't be a suggestion I use in the show because it's not very visual.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course not. Yeah.
But for a recreational hypnosis session with somebody, that would absolutely be something I gave. And visually, they would just be sitting in the chair, but inside their head, it will. Have you ever lucid dreamt? Like had a lucid
Yeah.
dream where
Yeah.
you're in
Yeah.
control?
All the time.
It'd be just like that kind of feeling where you're free floating in space in a spacesuit or however you wanted to do it. So you're getting those memories as if it was real. The mind can't really differentiate between what's real and what's not in hypnosis.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. This is a lot of information that truly I had it wrong in my head. I feel like and this changes my perspective on hypnosis as well. Um, when the audience chooses to, let's say, if I come to a show, one of the shows, and I volunteer, um, I get hypnotized, or and then after the show, I choose to keep those memories with me. What would I? What kind of memories would I have? Would I have the whole experience of me coming, volunteering, sitting down, taking your suggestions, following them? How does how would that work if I choose to keep those happy good memories?
So I'm sorry. You're trying to
So my
ask.
question so my question is, let's say I come to your show, right?
Yeah.
And you said after the show you ask everybody if they want to choose to keep the memories of the show,
Yes. Yes.
or
Yes.
they can choose to discard it, or they can choose to keep them in their head in pieces, right? So if I come
Right.
and if I say I choose to keep all these memories, I want to remember everything that happened with this show.
Okay. Yes. If you're choosing to remember everything, then you will remember it as you experience it. So if I give a suggestion to show that you're seeing a hilarious creature in the audience that's going to make you laugh every time it makes a noise, you're not going to remember seeing the audience and just laugh yourself laughing. You're going to remember seeing this weird creature out in the audience that that's making you laugh and that's really funny. Or if I give you the suggestion that when you look at me, you see Mickey Mouse, you're not going to remember looking at me and thinking, "Oh, that guy looks like Mickey Mouse." You're going to remember seeing Mickey Mouse standing there and talking.
Ah, this is yeah, this is cool. Yeah, man. Maybe you should like do like a show for the. I mean, yeah, this is good. I was gonna say something really funny, but I don't think it's gonna come out funny, so I'm not even gonna say it.
That's
But
okay, man.
I was gonna say something like this is almost like a drug, man. Like so, like you can drug people with this. You can just be like whatever they want to come experience. I'll you you can put out shows where you can be like, I'm not a hypnotist, I'm gonna provide you with something, and then people can come back to you. Like that, I was gonna make a joke, something
Right.
like that, but yeah, this
No, I
is
mean, that's kind of what I'm offering with my hypnosis recreational hypnosis package. You come in and you see me,
yeah.
I hypnotize you and have you experience some of those things, whatever you want to experience.
So it's more not. So it's more if you come as an audience, don't try to not come as an audience. Try to come and volunteer. In is it? I'm guessing this is just generally for all hypnosis, so right? It's better to volunteer and experience.
It's always going to be better to volunteer and experience it than it is to be in the audience.
But then there's always a worry. There's always a worry about, even though I know that you're the expert, even though I know that I'm coming to your show, but I'm still worried about because it's still my head. Somebody's
Yeah.
playing with, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's where it comes into play. Hypnotist has to be ethical about it.
Hmm.
You have to be open and transparent about what you're doing. And you're building that rapport with the audience. Like at the start of my show, I spend about 10 minutes just talking to the audience about kind of what the show is going to look like, getting them to trust me and ensuring them that nothing bad or embarrassing is going to happen. Uh, I I'm not going to name any names for this, but there are hypnotists that do shows that are more wild and could be seen as embarrassing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. It's like yes, I do come. I know I trust you and stuff, but like, has there ever been? You just mentioned that there has been, but my question was, like, has there ever been people who has not used it as unethical? It's wrong. They shouldn't be doing it. But has there been stories or it's a wild world, man. Things happen. So
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, there are all kinds of stories out there
yeah.
of hypnotists doing bad things, but it's really hard to verify what's true and what's not.
And who holds them accountable?
I mean, it would depend on the situation. I mean, if
Hmm.
somebody's if you're just doing something that's little bit unethical, maybe it'll slip by. But if you're doing something that's really bad, then the police can get involved, legal system. So
Depending on the impact you have, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But um, like that's why ethical hypnotists have guidelines of people they won't work with and people
Yeah.
they will work with. Like I, as a hypnotist, you don't want to work with somebody who has schizophrenia, for example,
Mm.
because with schizophrenia, people with schizophrenia are already seeing. They're not able to fully differentiate between what's real and what's in their mind.
Mm.
So if you add hypnosis into that,
That's not.
then you're taking things that aren't real more and putting them into their mind,
Yeah,
and
it's just gonna not help them, and it's just gonna make it really bad
it
for
could
them.
potentially
So
make it worse. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. And I guess this goes for any field, right? Like it's a lawyer, doctor, anything. Like if you're unethical, um, uh, then things are gonna get bad, and know, and depending on the impact you have, get in trouble. So that's not good.
Oh
What I
no,
want,
exactly.
yeah. So what I wanted to ask is when you get the certificate, um, because you said you had to come to Ontario and get that training plus certificate and spend all that time, right?
Yeah.
How do they know that you're qualified now? Like, how do they say, okay, man, you're ready to go? I know the basic answer is just by doing all those courses, doing all those certificates, right?
Right.
But can I just be a guy um, who can like? Is there anything that happens after the certificate and when they provide it to you? Uh, is there anything different that they know than any other certificates?
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely get what you're saying. I mean, really, after you see your teacher or whoever, like, for example, I got my certificates and I do keep in touch with my teacher, talk to him every once in a while, and even if maybe I'm working with somebody, if something comes up that I've never encountered before and I don't know exactly what needs to be done, maybe I'll call him and talk to him about it and get some advice. But in terms of them knowing for sure that you know everything, that just comes from, completing your coursework. And like I mentioned before, at the end of the course, you have case studies, or I had case studies where I worked with several people. So I would work with somebody and then I would have a call with my teacher and I would tell them about what happened, or I could record it, video record it with the person's consent and send that video to my teacher to review and look over to make sure that I'm handling things correctly and that I'm doing everything correctly.
Uh, that answers my question perfectly. This is what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because usually how it works with us in IT is, I mean, it's a different field, right? So, a different kind of certificate.
Right.
So for us, it's mostly like a study academic kind of thing,
Mhm.
where you like prepare for something, maybe an examination, certificate, specialty, um, maybe in one of the company, or so it could either be a company specific thing, maybe Microsoft, Google, one of the big companies,
Yep.
um, or it can be a tool specific. So you can be learning for a specific tool, like a network switch, like a network, like a hardware piece, like, and then those companies has their own certificate. So for us, how it works is, depending, you choose what company or tool you want to learn, where you want to go in your career with that, and then you prepare for that online. There's courses and stuff that you can do. I know in Toronto there was like classes where you can pay and then do them. But how it is, for those certificates, you basically just prepare for them on your own. Mostly you can prepare on your own, and then maybe you give the exam online at home, whatever. You have a spot where you can go for the exams, maybe like those exam companies. So whoever schedules those exams, they have their examination centers. So if you're not feeling comfortable at home, you can go over there, give the exam there for that
Right.
certification, or you can do it at home. But basically, yeah, you give the exam, and then depending on how you score, you have the certificate or you're not. So
Yeah.
if you score over from 1,000 points, let's say you score, or there's different criteria, of course, but mostly it's like that. So from 1,000, you score more than 700, 800, you get the certificate. Fine. So I
Right.
was wondering if that was how it with it, but
Yeah. No, that's like, it doesn't really work like that with hypnosis because, like I said before, hypnosis is an unregulated field. So you're basically working with whoever it is that's teaching you, and there's a trust between the student and the teacher that you're going to work hard and you're going to understand and learn all of your material
yeah,
before you go out and start working with real clients or real people and calling yourself a hypnotist. But again, due to that nature, somebody could, you know, get a bunch of books at the library and do tons of research online and learn a more basic level of hypnosis and then start calling themselves a hypnotist as well. So if you ever do decide to work with a hypnotist, it's always good to have that conversation with them and ask them about the credentials, where and how they learned. Or, you can also look at the length of time somebody's been doing it. If, somebody's not really knowledgeable about it, then they're not going to be around for a long time.
mm, right,
So
because
if yeah,
you can go through, like, you can pass through it for a little bit, but it doesn't. Yeah,
yeah,
you
eh,
cannot sustain it, I think.
exactly. And, you get those testimonials from different groups and clients. If you look at somebody who has no testimonials and they're just starting out, you might be willing to give them a shot. But if you're looking at somebody who's been doing it for 10 years and they have no testimonials, then, you know, maybe you're going to want to steer clear from that guy.
So if me being an audience, I'm going to a hypnotist show. Uh, you said I have to verify his credentials by talking with him, or right? Um, is there not a mandatory thing where if you're putting out your shows stuff, you have to put out your credentials also? or
I
the
mean,
only way is by knowing other people, like knowing how popular he is. Like I'm trying to differentiate. How would I know if this guy is genuine or not?
yeah, no, no, I know what you're saying. I mean, like whenever I'm doing a show in my advertising material, I'm putting out, Matt McPhee, Master Hypnotist, all that stuff.
Uh,
But there's no real way if you're just looking to buy a ticket to a show, like a public show, it's going to be really hard to verify. Like, you can Google the guy's name and find their website and look that way.
but it's his own website, so
Yeah,
that's
exactly. It's its own website. So, you just got to use a little bit of critical thinking skills,
exactly. So the only way
and
would be
but it's the same thing if you go to watch a magician perform, right?
mm,
Before you go to the show, how do you know if that magician's any good? You go to the magician's website, you look at some of their videos. Same thing with hypnotists. You see, oh, this Matt McPhee guy is doing a show. I don't know if I'll like it. I'll kind of want to buy a ticket. I'll go look at his website. Oh, okay, he's got a few videos. You
yeah.
know,
So
that seems kind of funny. Yeah, I'll do it. Or maybe you don't like the videos that are there at all. You're like, ah, no, this guy's not for me. I'll
I'm
skip
good
this
for me.
one. Check out somebody else.
Yeah, makes sense. And it's different too. But if you're like looking for a show, looking for a genuine magician, or like, looking for genuinity in a magician or on a hypnotist, it's different because um, magician I can just go and the worst case would be wasting my money. That's it. But like maybe for hypnosis, I wanna do my own research. That's what you suggested, right? So do a little bit of research on your own and see how it is, and then make sure that they're genuine, and then go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, I feel like we're kind of combining the stage aspect and hypnotherapy aspect too.
Mm.
Because when I'm talking about verifying things, that's more with the
The
hypnotherapy
hypnotherapy part,
side.
okay, not the
Yeah,
recreational. Because you're right. Because yeah, because when we go to the recreational part of the hypnosis, you can go as an audience. You don't have to go and be a volunteer.
exactly.
So you're not
Yeah,
the subject yourself. You can just go and enjoy the show. Right.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. That's my
yeah,
bad on my part. Yeah.
yeah. No, and it's with the hypnotherapy side is where you're going to be talking to this person before you go and see them,
Right.
and figure out what it is that they do, and just keep an eye for any red flags you see. Like if you talk to somebody about it, and the first thing out of their mouth is, "Oh, this is going to cost $150," then that's already a red flag. Why are they bringing up the price right away if you haven't asked for it?
Mm.
If you come to me and you're like, "Hey, Matt, I want to quit smoking," is that something you offer? And I just hit you back with, "Yeah, that'll be $150 a session for 4 sessions," and I don't give you any information. Is that someone you're going to want to see?
Right. No, I would not want to see that guy.
Right.
Right.
But if I said to you, "Okay, man, you want to quit smoking? Here's what it would look like if you did that. We're going to have a few sessions. We're going to slowly dial back the cigarettes you take in, and we're going to figure out what it is that makes you want to smoke. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to, you know, dive in and find the root causes of what makes you want to smoke. We're going to make you not want to, and work on that over a few sessions. How's that all sound to you?"
So yeah. Okay. Makes sense. That makes more
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Um. Have you had, because you mentioned the example of smoking a couple times,
Yes.
and I don't want to know specific, but I want to know how it goes. Have you ever had one like any of those experiences like that?
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I've worked with several people helping them quit smoking. And to my knowledge, afterwards, they all stayed off cigarettes afterwards. I
uh,
mean,
so, and does it has to be only in person? So
no, no,
no.
no, you can do it online like this. If you really wanted to work with me, we could set up a call just like this and work together.
So there you go. That's for my audience. There you go. So if you guys want to try and quit smoking, here's our guy. That's basically that's kind of what basically my goal for this YouTube channel is to provide information because like um I mean podcasting is it's a big community, right? And it's I guess it's my community at this point because I'm a part of it,
Right.
and I want to be. But I think for me, I've heard a lot of podcasts, and I feel like um there's a lot of podcasts that has grown where people can just talk about other people, what's going on. in special genres, so like maybe celebrity life, maybe what's trending, and talking about all that, and then they grow their channel like that. Kudos to them, they can do it. That's amazing. My goal is to take the knowledge from the people I know, know more people, gain more knowledge, and combine that, um, and share it to our viewers. So I always say that when I came to Canada, I've even after coming here, it's been a long journey for me. So I always say that if I had um, if I had a podcaster, or if I had somebody who I could, if I was in India and if I was in that little village or town where I grew up, uh, if I had somebody, that I had my, because everybody has phones now, right? So if there was just one person which I could um, follow, who was in Canada, who was providing me information, in so you know what I'm saying. So for my
Right.
goal for this podcast is to provide information to people who can comfortably like go on their phones and they can get the information that they need. Right. That's basically what the point for the phones is. But my goal is to learn from people, and then carry it to the people who are far, far, far from like North America, and far, far, far from all this knowledge that we have here. Because I feel like we have a lot of good things, a lot of knowledge that's going on here, but there's a lot of people in a lot of part of the world, especially from where I come from, where they don't know a whole lot about a whole lot of things. Um, and I feel like I could reach to them through this. And that goes for any, like, a lot of, not just India. I say that because I come from, so I know.
Right.
But that's basically what my goal is. My goal is for people to know, so all this information for the hypnosis and everything. I didn't know myself, and I have a lot of curious question. Guessing, if somebody who, let's say, if somebody's trying to quit smoking at some, and he wants to, um, he is not comfortable, because I know I've had friends, where in these situations where they get like addicted and stuff with smoking and any of the uh, substance or anything like that, it's a dark spot for themselves, right? So I don't want to know, I don't need to know, as long as that person, as long as that imaginary person reaches out to you in confidential, and as long as that person's problem gets solved, man. Like what else would I need, right? I don't even need to know if I became that me. I just want to become that me,
Oh no,
so
100%.
that's kind of what my goal is. That's the whole point of these podcasts. So yeah, this is good information. Like, and this is a shout out to, of course, I'm gonna mention all the channels and everything, my like description and everything. So this is now to the viewers. Please reach out to Matt if you're in a situation like this, as long as Matt is okay with it.
Oh,
And
oh
talk
yeah,
to
no.
him, get all the information, and then if you have like get out of the situation. It's not good. And if I could be helping even tiny bit for that, I'll be happy. This is my success. That happens. Yeah. This is good information, right? This is good information. No, like, it's information that I feel like we needed.
Oh no, for sure. And another thing about that, you mentioned about reaching out. Even if somebody wanted, like, to say reach out to me for a problem, if I wasn't equipped to solve that problem, but I know hypnosis is something that can't solve it, maybe it's just outside my wheelhouse, like, or outside my area of expertise in hypnosis, I might be able to direct you to somebody else who does work with that specific problem or issue.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the therapy side of things.
Yes. Oh, when it comes to the entertainment, if you reach out to me and you want to fly me out anywhere, I'll go. I'll go, man.
uh, cool. So that's
It'll cost you more money, but if you want to fly me out, halfway across the world to do a show, yeah, I'm game.
cool. Um, So, because that's why I asked, like, if it's these therapy things that can also be done like online too, right? Because I don't know how it works in hypnosis, hypnotic therapy. If you can do it online or
Yes. No. Ever since COVID, hypnosis has kind of had a little bit of an online boom, and most, I shouldn't say most because I don't know, but a lot of practitioners now will offer online work. I prefer working in person, but there's nothing inherently wrong with online. It
not.
just means you can't reach out and physically touch the person.
Yeah, yeah.
So which isn't a part of hypnosis really. Like
Yeah.
if I'm working with somebody, there is a moment where I'm testing to see how deeply hypnotized they are. And to do that, I might take hold of their wrist, hold up their arm, and see if it's loose or if there's any tension, stuff like that. But there are just as many visual tests I can do with people and have them respond to suggestions visually as I do by picking somebody's arm up and feeling if it's heavy and limp or if it's tense and helping me go up.
Yeah, it's good that you know this and you can do it. And it's um it's for any performance, I feel like, right? I've heard comedians, like I've because I'm a lot on YouTube all the time. I
Right.
like, so I've like a lot of times the performers, so like I said, comedians, um magicians, singers,
Yeah.
dancers, anything. So if you're performing, they prefer live audience anyway,
Yes. Yeah.
than e-audience, because
Yeah.
like again, it's a feedback loop. Like it's the energy. It's a performance.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Um, I just want to be clear though. When I said about doing things online, I was talking about the therapy side.
right,
For
yeah,
doing a hypnotist show online, that wouldn't
that doesn't
really
work. No,
that
it
doesn't
doesn't
work.
work. That doesn't work.
No,
Nah,
no,
it doesn't work.
no. You can do videos online, like where you work with
Yeah,
somebody in person,
yeah.
for the comedy show side of it and post it online. But
You're going there for experience. You're not going there for just to see. It's not a movie. You're going for experience. You're trying to
exactly,
see.
exactly.
It's an experience. So it's completely different.
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah. But it's the hypnotherapy side of it that can absolutely be effective
Yeah.
over virtual meetings.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
did you get into hypnosis? You said you've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. No, it's actually it's a great question and it's kind of a funny story. When I was in high school, you probably even remember this from our time working together. I was into magic, like magic tricks and everything. And in high school, especially, I was really into magic, and I wanted to be a magician when I got older. But then the more I learned about magic and the better I got at it, the more expensive it was becoming to learn more about it. Like if I wanted to learn a new trick for effect that I saw online, maybe that trick costs $150 to purchase, learn how to do it.
Mm.
And I was looking around space, like like for general entertainers, and there's a cajillion magicians out there. Like off the top of my head, I can probably list off a bunch of magicians that I've heard of. Not necessarily famous, but that I've
Yeah.
heard of and that are trying to make a living in space. But then when I was um, graduating high school at our safe grad, my school had a hypnotist come and perform for us. And I thought the show was great. And I thought to myself, there's no reason I couldn't do that. So I started looking into it a little bit on my own, studying a little bit, figuring out what it was about, watching some, YouTube tutorials, how to hypnotize somebody, stuff like that. And then, uh, and then I was looking around thinking, okay, there's hardly any hypnotists out there. Like I can't name hypnotists off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I did some research online and tried to find hypnotists, and there was only a few, even in this area of Canada. Like I think currently, and I could be way off on this, last I checked, I think there's 3 or 4 of us that are active in the Atlantic region of Canada, and then there are a couple that travel, come here, do a show or 2, and then go back out to wherever they are. But for people that are traveling around doing shows for, like, corporate shows and stuff like that, there's only a few of us. So I thought, that's something that if I get into it, I'll be able to break into it much, much, I don't wanna say easier, but the chance of actually having something happen is higher than with something that hundreds and hundreds of people are active. So from there, I did research online and I found somebody who was teaching hypnosis and he had a course specifically for stage hypnosis. So I took that course, studied it, did my in-person class with him, came back, practiced everything, learned it up, and then I started doing shows. And then it wasn't until a couple of years later when I became interested more in the hypnotherapy side of things and decided to get more education and get my master certification and all this other things. I think I officially, I think I have 4 certifications in like different certifications in hypnosis. Uh, I think stage consulting, stage consulting, pain management, and the master certification at the end.
How long did you how much time did you spend in total to get all those certificates? Or yeah, or is it like a
Oh,
thing where the first one is like a quick one, and then there's like, if because of course if you take the master one, then there's like more time there. Is it one of those things?
yes, yeah. So it's about time spent. The time in the classroom is a lot lower than the time actually studying and learning it. The time in the classroom is just to learn the basic, to learn the like to have the conversation, ask the questions that you need. In total, my classroom time was probably around, I don't know, 50 to 60 hours classroom time.
Right.
And
Okay.
then the amount of time that I would have spent studying separately, I couldn't even begin to to get into how much time I've spent.
Is it a
Like,
constant thing? Do you still have to do it, like the side learning?
I mean, it's up to you. I personally am always looking up and reading different articles about hypnosis. Picking up a book here and there, and even just seeing what techniques other hypnotists are using and inventing. Even like the techniques that I use in my show now are much, much different than what I originally learned from my teacher. And actually, there's what my favorite. They're called inductions when you're bringing somebody into hypnosis. My favorite one to use is Dr. Flowers, what it's called,
Okay.
and it's a really repetitive induction, really boring to watch. So I took that and I modified it to make it more entertaining for the stage show.
Mm,
And that's what I use in my stage show. And since I've started doing that, I've had a much higher rate of people going into hypnosis than I did with my original method that was taught in the class.
ah, yeah,
But of course, modifying that
yeah,
takes a much higher degree of understanding than just memorizing a script and using
right. So okay, so that's how it works. Because okay, for so once you get some certifications, and then you can kind of, you have to see and learn what the other performance did, how it went, how it was in the past, what are the other techniques, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of just combine them, like implement them, test them, and then see what works, what not, and see what you spend, like see what works for you too, and then that's kind of how
Exactly.
you. Okay.
And then getting the master hypnosis certification isn't a certificate saying you know everything there is to know about hypnosis. The master hypnotist certification is essentially a certification that tells other people that this guy has a good and deep understanding of the subject and
Mm,
is able to improvise and um, kind of create new things. That makes
okay.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense to me totally. Has there been
Yeah.
any point where you think you don't want to continue, like you don't want to do this in maybe in the beginning, has there been a time? Because like
Not
of course,
really.
because my thing is, anything you start, right, anything you start that's not normal, there's always going to be a lot of factors contributing to you um not continuing with that thing. Okay, and I say a lot of factors, I'm not saying just
Yeah.
one two, and then you get a lot of reasons. There is more reasons in the beginning, I feel like, to not do that thing or to not pursue that thing. And then at a lot of people at the beginning stage, they don't continue. Those factors come in.
Yeah.
Those snakes tend to come in your garden.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah,
avoid those
man.
things?
Yeah. We've all had things that we've started and then stopped for some
Yeah.
reason that we really wanted to do and then stopped. But in terms of wanting to stop with hypnosis, never really happened. I mean, sure, I've had times where it's like, oh man, I gotta leave the house and go do a show. But that's just getting over the inertia of, stopping being lazy on the couch and getting moving. Once you're actually moving it's easy. The hardest step is always the first one. So, like, I've had days where I was booked to do a show somewhere, and, you know, an hour before I have to leave the house, thinking, "Oh, man, I really don't wanna go,"
Right.
but the second I step out the door, load up my stuff into the car, that's no longer an issue. Just
Yeah.
that mental hurdle of, "Okay, I gotta stop being lazy and I gotta actually do something." But in
That's
terms of wanting to ever stop doing hypnosis, no, that's been an issue.
yeah. But I guess that's natural. That goes for a lot of things. Same for me when I try to work out. I just started beginning working out to myself after a while. So same
Yeah,
thing. I don't feel some there's days where I don't feel like going. I don't want to go. A lot of days
exactly.
are like that. But is this
As soon as you
your
get there, you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is
there you
great."
go. As soon as you get there, as soon as you tap in that fob and as soon you go in, and people see. But I guess that's just because your brain is comfortable. Your brain is comfortable. It's cozy. It's nice. It's warm. Why would
Exactly.
I? Your brain doesn't want. Yeah, that's the thing. How do you how do you see? So how is hypnosis on a big level? Is it the same thing that we see in the movie or how they show in the shows? So because we've seen all those like videos and stuff where the shows how they go. So doing hypnosis on a smaller scale of like 50, 70, 100, 200 people, 1,000 is it the same as doing it with like 5,000 people?
Uh, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, yes, hypnosis is hypnosis. So whether I'm doing it for a crowd of 20 people or a huge audience of 1,000 or 10,000, whatever, the things I'm doing are going to be more or less the same. Uh, I'm still I'm still gonna need the audience to be quiet when I'm doing the induction. I'm still gonna have to go through all of the steps throughout the induction and put people under. So now with a big audience, the only thing that would look different is I'm gonna have a much, much bigger selection of volunteers. So I'm going to be able to do broader tests with the whole audience and only bring the people on the stage who are the most susceptible. Like I've done a few shows where I've ID'd somebody as being highly, highly susceptible in the audience. And I've done something, it's called an instant induction, where you have them come up on stage and you drop them into hypnosis in almost immediately, is what it looks like. Like you talk to them for, it looks like 30 seconds and they're under.
Wow.
And those are always the most fun. They always get the biggest reactions, but they're not realistic to do all the time.
Right.
It's judgment call, and it's a bit of a risk doing it too. Because if you choose to do an instant induction with somebody on stage and then it doesn't work with them, you're left looking like the hypnotist who couldn't hypnotize somebody.
Yeah, because right, yeah, yeah, you're right. It's a judgment call that you have to make. I guess you get that with experience. The more you do it,
Exactly.
the
When
more
I
you
first
know.
started, I would never even dream of trying that. But now I've got a lot of experience under my belt and I can tell, just look at not just look at somebody and see, but see how they're reacting to the initial suggestions and the suggestibility tests I do on the general audience. And
Yeah,
if I see somebody who's heavily reacting to them all, then I'll mentally make a note of that person and try an instant induction with them. And it works every
yeah.
time in that setting.
You
But if
are
I
when
just went up to a random person on the street, then you're not going to see that same level of effect.
no, it has. Yeah, it makes sense, and of course you know better, as you have to make the judgment call. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's an impromptu thing you have to do. Yeah, you have to decide at that point if you have to do it or not. If you don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable, that's just it. Don't even do it. Don't even try.
Exactly. If
Yeah,
you're not 100% confident it's going to work, then don't do it. It's
yeah,
not worth it because it derails the rest of your show. And that's not a skill that can be taught. That's something that you learn through experience over time.
yeah. Because the skill is already there, but it's the other things that you're learning. You're learning the timing, the
The,
judgment, and
and the
everything else,
confidence.
and the confidence. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest part. I think, like, which plays the biggest part in your role. Like,
Yes, confidence is massive with hypnosis. Like I said earlier, if the hypnotist seems unsure of himself, then the volunteer is going to pick up on that and they'll be unsure if it'll work. And as soon as they start questioning is this going to work or not, then you've already lost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a question in my mind, but maybe I'll remember and I'll ask you. What I is if oh yes, I was it wasn't a question. It was when you talked about the reaction, right?
Yeah.
Um, because when we were working together, when you were talking about hypnosis, and again, like I said, I've been only in Canada for 11 years or so, and
Yeah.
last time we talked was almost 5 years ago.
Has it really
So
been that long? Wow.
yo,
Yeah, it has
yo
been.
5
Yeah.
years has been a long, long time.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, when me and Gagan, like we used to chill, hang out, you would, of course, right? Because you were, but me and Gagan were at the front working
Yeah.
at the line, and you were in the kitchen side. So,
Yep.
and for the audience to work in a food place, and we're talking about that. So when my point is when we were together and when you mentioned hypnosis and everything, I, there has been a couple times where we really didn't know what like how much involved you are into. We thought you were just talking like a part like a we thought you were speaking for things that you don't know much about, right?
Right.
Um, so but then we went to your show, and then the show on the Christmas party, and then we
Yeah.
saw you perform, and then we saw you like the thing go live, and then the second I think you I don't know what you did exactly, but then like things happened in your show, right? The girls went to sleep right away, and then they woke up. They didn't know for like two seconds that they were sleeping and everything. And for us, it was like, whoa, what's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it was huge. So, but yeah. So people don't know until they see it. You know, they see it in person. They just go, oh, okay, so whatever. But no, it's not. It's like if you see it, if you see somebody experience it as an audience, then you have fun. But now they're talking to you. I feel like if I ever come to your show, I would like I wouldn't be an audience. I would want to experience it. You know what I mean? So like that's good that I know now a lot about
Yeah. And if you're feeling that way, that, you know, before you thought, oh, I just want to watch it. And now you think you want to experience, that means I did my job.
this. Yeah, yeah. And for somebody to start getting, let's say, for somebody who wants to start getting into hypnosis now, no motivating from you, what would be what would be something that they would want to what's something that you would recommend that they start with, at least in the very first beginning stages?
Yeah. Honestly, in the beginning stages, there's a really great book. I can't remember the name of the author right now, but it's called Reality is Plastic. And he's a well known hypnotist in the UK, I believe. I just can't remember his name at the moment, but um, it's a great starting place for anybody who wants to get into hypnosis. He talks about several techniques that he uses and learns, and he even talks about doing it with people on the street
Hmm.
randomly. And honestly, that book is a really great starting point. It wasn't my starting point, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
kind of wish it was.
yeah.
It just gives you a lot of good insight. Other than that, Google is your friend.
Google,
Um,
YouTube, just the basics.
yeah, learn about it. Watch some videos. Even watch some videos of people performing it, and try and note what techniques they're using. But before you start working with live audience or with real people, the best thing to do is find a practitioner in your area or travel for it,
Yeah, yeah.
like
I
I
would.
did. Because like there's nobody around me locally that was teaching hypnosis, so I had to travel,
Right.
and
I would.
that's
Yeah.
that. You should always get a course or two under your belt
Yeah, yeah. You should.
beforehand.
Don't even go start trying. Don't even do that. Get a specialty. Get somebody
Exactly.
watching you. Get certified. Get
Yeah.
certified for sure.
Yeah.
Get an expert that can show you, and then. But like if you're
Exactly.
just
There's nothing wrong with
interested,
working with some friends. Like at the start when you're first learning, you know, trying some things out with some friends to see how it goes for you. But definitely don't try to enact any changes with people without learning deeply about how you want to go about that.
yeah,
It's extremely difficult to cause damage with hypnosis because everything's happening inside your own head. But
true.
it is certainly possible to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, this is good topics we cover for hypnosis. This is good information. Uh, and I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna
Mhm.
talk about some other aspects of your life, and let's
Yeah,
see if we can get a learning or two. Okay, I'm gonna try and not ask too many personal questions, but stop me if you anytime you feel like.
for sure.
Um, but this is mostly like a again a knowledge gaining perspective. You know, how do you my because I have some questions in my notes again, right? So
Yep,
I was wondering um, how do you manage with your current life? So whatever you're doing, your work, because for me it's the same thing too. I'm doing something full time and something else on the side, just
yeah,
because this is I feel like I know now I want to learn this, I want to grow in this. So, but it's tough to manage it. How do you how do you manage those responsibilities?
yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in that my job is set hours, same hours every day. So I know, you know, I don't have to think. If you ask me, "Hey, Matt, what are you doing at this time on a Wednesday?" I can
Yeah,
tell you I'll be at work or I'll be off, depending on what time you say. And in terms of balancing different things, it's just about finding the time and being willing to put in some work every once in a while, with something on the side, like you're doing with this podcast, or like what I do with my hypnosis. That's not something that you need to be working on every waking moment that you're not at your job. If you find an hour or two a day or an hour or two every other day, as long as you're working on it and giving it time, then you can slowly grow it. Of
was it?
course, the more time you can put, the faster it'll grow. But
Oh yeah, about
yeah,
that's what I'm asking. Like, how is it hard to find a balance? But now I know the answer. Was it hard in the beginning to find that balance?
in the beginning for me, I was still in university.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
even
But
when we worked together, I was still attending university. So at that point in my life, being swamped with things was kind of the norm because at that time I was in university, I was practicing hypnosis, I was working with you, and I was heavily involved in karate. If you
oh
remember that?
yes, I
Yeah,
totally forgot about the karate part.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
should have mentioned that in the line of questioning.
No, it's okay. We can always come back to it later.
Yeah,
Actually, that it's blurry in my background because it's a little bit messy, but I have
certificate.
a kanji from karate there.
What's a kanji?
Oh, it's just like Japanese artistic writing.
Oh, so
Yeah.
is the writing itself called kanji, or is it like did you bring it from a place? That's why
Oh
it's called.
no, kanji is it's one of the alphabets in Japan. Like
Oh,
they have katakana, hiragana, and kanji is like the complex things that you would see. Like if you see people with Japanese tattoos, like of a Japanese character, that would be a kanji that you see.
ah, okay.
Yeah,
So you
but
have a quote you have quote from kanji. You said you have it on the wall. So what is it? It's a quote.
yeah, it's a word. Oh god,
It's just a
I know
word.
what it means, but it's left me at the moment.
It's all good.
I'll keep thinking about it. When I remember it, I'll try
Yeah,
and come
just
back to it.
bring it up in the
But I don't know why
conversation.
it's escaping me at the moment. Um, but
It's okay. You don't
yeah,
have
going
to.
back to the balance earlier, at that point in my life, I was so busy that adding an extra thing didn't really seem like that big of a deal. It's like, I'm already busy, so may as well add something else.
Yeah,
What's the big deal?
yeah,
And now that I'm at a point in my life where I'm significantly less busy,
yeah.
it's harder to want to find the time to work on the hypnosis
Mm,
because, it's like we talked about earlier, that inertia of actually getting started.
yeah.
So, but
It's difficult.
yeah, like my work on it now, it's also a lot different than it was then because back then I had to, design website, design logos, design everything. And now it's much more of a passive thing where somebody will reach out to me wanting to do something. and I'll respond to it and then make time to work with them or do the show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's much more passive than it used to be.
Yeah. Now I'm interested in your karate in Japan part. Have you been to Japan?
I have, yes. I
Do you
was to
normally go to
Okin.
Japan?
No, I was there once.
Okay, because yeah,
In
the way you responded, I'm like, because I have friends who go like who only goes to Japan every year. They're like they're so crazy about. And now I really want to go to Japan just by talking to them, and then because the way they mention it, because, like I said, they go there every year.
Oh
So
yeah, no, and it's great.
how was that experience?
Oh, it was awesome. We were there for a seminar, like it was a karate trip that I went on. I think it was 2017, I want to
Mm.
say. And we were there for a birthday celebration of the master.
Oh,
And when we were there, there was training every single day, sometimes 2 times a day. And it was intense, brutal training. One of the gymnasiums that we were training in was at a local high school that was nearby. I think they were on their summer break because it was in August.
what city did you go to? Kyoto?
We were in Naha in
No.
Okinawa. And in this gymnasium, there were several days they had these thermometers on the wall, the red one with liquid inside of it. The liquid was spilling over the top of the thermometer. It
Whoa.
was so hot in that gym. So like you would train and
Yeah.
your uniform would just be completely drenched in sweat. You would
Mm.
go back, hang it over the door of your hotel room to hopefully let it dry out before the next training.
You don't
But
actually
you were
train.
training again in like 7 or 8 hours, so it would still be kind of damp from your sweat in it.
Mm.
Putting it back on could be gross at times, but it was great training and a great experience.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's a combat sport, right? So you have to know if you don't sweat, there's no point.
Yeah, my style was traditional. It wasn't about combat and fighting other people. It was about the self-defense aspect.
So is that how it works in karate? Is there like types? I thought it was only one thing. I thought you learn combating in karate.
Uh, no, there's sport karate and there's traditional karate. So sport karate is what you see like in a karate tournaments,
Okay, right? Yeah, yeah. As
where
a
they're where they're fighting one another for points.
Mhm.
And then there's the traditional where you're learning about the history, you're learning the deep meaning of your technique, and there's a lot more thought and care put into the training. It's more of a lifestyle, if
Can you
that makes
exaggerate
sense.
on that?
Yeah. So in terms of
How is it
a
a
life,
lifestyle? That's what I'm trying to understand.
yeah, it's a lifestyle in that I would be taking what I learned in the dojo and applying that to my everyday life. So when you're learning traditional karate, you're not learning how to fight somebody so that way you can go out and challenge people to fights and everything like that. You're learning for your own self improvement.
Mm,
And we have a saying. And actually, have you ever done any kind of martial arts in the past?
I have not, but I am very much into martial arts right now. So
Right.
I know a lot of
Okay.
yeah, very much into it. So yeah, I'm a lot into MMA. The whole point of me starting this podcasting was because of Joe Rogan and following the whole part of
Okay.
like yeah. But yeah, please continue. So
Okay.
I
Oh, that's
know I
great.
know about yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, as someone who's into martial arts a little bit in MMA, what would you say is the most important technique in martial arts?
What do you mean? Oh, like an attack or self defense or
Yeah, what's the most important technique?
I feel like it's grappling right now.
Grappling?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I think so.
That,
Yeah.
that's a great answer. In my style of karate, you know what the most important technique is? Be a good person.
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
if you're going up to somebody and you're a good person to them, why are they ever going to want to attack you? It's self-defense without having to ever hurt somebody. And if
Oh,
you're ever in a situation where I'm being mugged at knife point, sure, I know how to defend myself, but I'm just going to give the guy my wallet. I don't got anything in there I can't replace. Somebody's coming at you with a knife. No matter how good you are, you're going to get cut.
exactly. that's the whole point of MMA as well. It's like it's a one-on-one combat, but as long as there's no
Yes,
weapons involved. Like if somebody comes
exactly.
on a street fight, yeah, MMA is gonna work, yes, but like there's still talks and arguments where like, okay, yeah, if I know him, like what if the guy comes with a weapon, if it comes with a knife, it's not gonna the grappling or striking is not gonna help you there. Maybe it will. Like surely,
Yeah,
if the guy doesn't know, it's gonna, but yeah, chances are probability is low.
yeah, and also, like, is there anything in your wallet that's worth accidentally killing somebody?
Exactly.
Like, 'cause,
Yeah.
people have died in the past at the bar, you shove somebody and they trip over something and hit their head on the corner of the bar and they die. Is there anything in your wallet that's worth, ending someone's life? I
Right.
don't think so.
But you're not gonna be ending. You're talking
I'm
about.
just saying it can happen accidentally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not you can learn karate as a skill, as a combat, but you can also learn karate is also not just a skill. It's also there's another aspect of it, which I had no idea about, which is a lifestyle. You implement karate in your life, and
Yes.
you practice practice you practice it, not the skill. But
Exactly.
there's also karate as a skill which you can practice to participate in the sports and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
so, like, with
either
traditional
way,
karate, you're practicing the technique,
hmm,
and when you're practicing on your own,
hmm,
you're picturing in your head, like if I'm practicing, so it's like if I'm practicing punches, every time I throw a punch, I'm imagining like I'm punching somebody in the face. I'm imagining like I'm caving in their nose, all that
we
stuff.
call them shadow box.
Yeah, shadow boxing. Yeah, but like you're fully visualizing the damage that you're doing to the person, giving it your all.
Right.
And so that's the traditional aspect. You're improving your body, but you're also improving your mind in other
Yeah.
aspects. You're getting your discipline, your endurance. That's
Yeah.
number one in karate is just the word endure.
Yeah.
You know, you feel you're holding a stance for a long time. You have that lactic acid building in your legs. It hurts, but you just keep pushing through. You don't stop just because a little bit of pain. You gotta endure that and keep on moving.
Right.
And then when you look at the sport karate, which I'm not involved in, so I'm looking at this through a heavily, heavily biased perspective of somebody that's practiced traditional my whole life. Sport karate, from my perspective, looks more like a game of tag
Hmm.
where they're just
Yeah.
like reaching it. It's all about speed, making that contact, and getting out without being blocked, right?
Yeah.
And I know MMA is much different than that because they're actually fully fighting, and that's an entirely
I was gonna say yeah
different
because
beast.
it's mixed martial arts, right? So it's mixed. You can
Yes.
a couple of skills mixed. Man, just
Yeah.
getting one skill is already tough, but then combining those skills. So MMA, I feel like it's
Exactly.
different. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think in MMA you have to kind of you have to kind of go out in a spot in your head, So like you have to be able to if you're practicing professional MMA, you have to be able to kill somebody. Like you know what I mean? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
have to be
absolutely.
it's like you have to have that ability. So like that's I think that like because I've you've seen those MMA fights, man. Like it's not for points. It's not
Oh
the
no, no, and
so,
no, they're trying to take each other out.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
but
yeah, and that's an entirely different. It's an entirely different beast, and they're going
yeah,
into those fights. They know what they're getting into.
yeah. And
But
again,
if oh,
if
go ahead.
sorry, so I was gonna say because I still have the train of thought in my head. And again in MMA, if you don't mix those martial arts, so if you say you're just doing kickboxing or only jujutsu, so if those are different skills, then again those are for also like point that kind of becomes similar to what karate is similar to. So you do it for points and you do it for like winning and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm talking about
Yeah,
more like an MMA fight. That's like intense. But if you're just practicing jujutsu, stuff like that on a professional level, you're not trying to take the guy out. It's you're trying to score points. You're trying to be defensive.
exactly.
It's a strategy you're doing. I feel like that's when karate like skills individually is pretty much the same. You know,
Yeah.
and if you at that level, I mean, of course, it on the top of the top level, right?
No, I know what you mean. I know
Yeah,
what
yeah. But MMA is different.
you mean. Yeah.
Um, how deep are you into karate?
For the last couple of years, actually, my club. uh, shut down during COVID, and it has never been reopened.
Oh,
But I would love for in the future to open up a club myself. It's kind of one of my dreams in life is to run a karate club.
right.
So it's something I'm trying to work towards to getting into a spot in my life where I will be able to do that. Because in order to do that, you need such a consistent schedule. You need to be able to show up there however many nights a week that you're teaching, right?
Yeah. And you have to be involved 100% too, right? Like, can
What
you
do you
do it? Sorry, I'm saying you have to be involved 100% too, right? Like, is it a thing where you can practice hypnosis and this at the same time in future, like
Oh,
long long
absolutely.
future? So
Like,
both excel. So you still trying to, like, do you see yourself being just practicing, like, if you open a karate club, it's gonna be a traditional karate club, right? Obviously.
yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah.
but just want to do that like the whole time, or you still take through hypnosis do the. This is I'm
Oh, no.
talking about far future,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, far in the future. Yeah, I could absolutely see doing both. Um, that's a trap people fall into in life, I think, a lot, is a lot of people have the idea that they can only be one thing and can only do one thing. Or maybe even like, you have your full-time job and then you have your thing on the side that you're really passionate.
Yeah, that's the. I've always wondered. So it's two different things, right? Like current life,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have to work, and then you kind of build something, or at least spend your time on something which is a little
Yeah.
more productive, right, than wasting time. That's kind of where I start with. But there's also another perspective in far future where you're like, oh, maybe like this is just maybe just a thing that I'm gonna, maybe just like a business that I'm gonna have, or just a lifestyle that I'm gonna have, right? So do you not think that you'll be chasing two rabbits? Then I'm again far future, right? I'm not
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
current life, managing work, hypnosis, and this, but I'm talking about far future, because like this is something where I have a problem with too. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm discussing you. I want to do multiple things too in my life, for future. Uh, but I also think like, because I've always heard people say, and I always um, like seen concepts of catching two rabbits at once. You don't catch any.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
there's also one thing where if you're building something, you want to be building it to that extent. You want to be involved in so much that becomes your entire life. And then you're having fun in your life, and you don't think about like making money as a salary perspective thing, right? But again, you're spending time to build two things at the time.
Yes.
How do you think you're gonna be able to manage it? Because I feel confident. I feel like I'll be able to do it. But then I'm thinking maybe like I need to spend a lot of time in one thing, and the other thing I need to silence that, and then you just move on one thing until it's built enough, um, where it's not on a beginner, where it's past the beginner level and it's on the intermediate level, where I don't have to spend much time on it. And the
Right.
other thing, um, I can start doing the other thing, and that way, one thing is already on the intermediate level, which is my current life, and then the second thing I can try and implement in my life. But the life's
Yeah.
gonna get busier. The life's gonna be again, it's gonna be busy, right? You're gonna be like hopefully like we're going to be having family, and then the family expands and more responsibility comes in, so things gets difficult to manage.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you
Yeah.
plan on navigating through all that to do both things?
I mean, like it's about if you try and build two things at the same time. Like if you try to start off two things at once, yeah, both things are going to fail because you're splitting your time. But like you said, you want to build one thing and get into a point where it's almost like it's running itself, or where you don't need to actively spend a lot of time working on it. Like right now, where hypnosis is at for me is at a spot where I mostly just kind of wait for calls to come to me. So there's not a whole lot of, I'll have a social media post every once in a while, but it's not something that I need to actively spend time grinding on. So
Hmm.
once you get to that level in something, then you can have a second project that you're like, okay, this is something that I'm really passionate about, something I really want to do, and and build it up that way.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just about finding the time to do it, and if you're in a situation where you have a family and, maybe you have young kids or something, then yeah, that's what you have to focus on right
Mm.
now. You focus on that, but just because you reach a certain age in your life, that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, stop doing things. There have been people that are 70 years old that have gotten degrees at
Oh yeah.
universities, it's just about, you know, just, just keep going, just keep chasing what you want to chase.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't give yourself reasons for not doing it. Right.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I say. I always say something to my wife in terms of um, and this goes for anything. I feel like this is my perspective. If if somebody wants to do something, they will find a way to do it. If
Yeah.
somebody doesn't want to do any something, they will find a way to not do.
Oh, 100%.
And this is for anything. This goes for everything, anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
there's a
want to
million
do it,
reasons not to do something.
yeah. So that's kind of what I feel like. Don't give yourself reason. This brings back to my initial point where I was like, oh, maybe we should not start giving ourselves reason for not doing something, but do it. Don't tell yourself, don't give yourself reasons to not do it. Do it. But I guess what you're trying to say is prioritizing. So at that point in your life, that phase of your life, prioritize, right? Prioritize
Exactly.
what's your priority, and then do it that way. As your life stages goes, as your life goes by, those priorities are going to change, and then we should be able to change up priorities as time goes for the need, and prioritize those things, so that way you're not just spending time on one thing, everything else falls apart, because that's also not good.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, no, you don't wanna do that, and also, I mean, it seems like a weird thing to say, but it's also okay to know when to quit working on something too. Like, if you have something that you do in your life and you're not getting any enjoyment from it at all, then is it worth it for you to keep going? Or would you be able to find more joy or whatever satisfaction out of taking the energy you're putting into this one thing and doing something else? Like, if for some reason in my life I ever started hating hypnosis, I hate doing this. It's such a drain. Got to always meet these people and do things. If I ever started thinking like that, well, maybe it's worth it for me to, take a step back and maybe stop doing it altogether or take a break. Be like, okay, I'm not going to take anyone for a while. I'm going to do something else. There's no reason saying, like, there's no law saying once you stop something, you can't come back, right?
Yeah, you don't have to always think that uh, yeah, you cannot come back to it. You can always come back to it. You can always start doing it. Yeah, yeah. I had something in my mind else, but I just really lost track. But yeah, you're right. You should not. Yeah, you should not think that you can't do it. You can always come back. Oh yes, I was gonna say. Um, it's not just you're talking about the passion part of your life, you're not talking about the necessity part of it. Just
Right.
so that
That
clear.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm talking about the passion aspect. Yeah, no, you got to have that in the call it the professional. Ah, lots of people hate their jobs and have to keep doing them.
Exactly. You have
Is
because you have to do it. You have to, right? You have to do it.
yeah,
I still prefer to even find a job in in the in the domain or in the realms of what you like to, and then
exactly. Yeah,
that way it's not. But sometimes you have to do jobs that you don't want to do, to because that's just a part of life. That's
you
just
got to
everybody
support
goes
yourself.
through
Yeah,
that. That's the grind that everybody has to go through. You don't always get to get to do things that you want to. That's something that you want to chase in your life. So you want to go to a spot where you do things more and more that you want to, and then make money off of it.
yes,
But then,
exactly.
that's not to say that there's not gonna be a point in your life where you have to do things that you have to do. I was at a spot in my life for the longest time where I was doing things that I have to do. I did not want to do. Who wants to work
Yeah,
at a food place, man? Do you want to work at a food place? That's
no,
not. It's not a.
exactly.
Yeah, you
There's
have
a
to.
reason those places have such a high turnover rate.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
Yeah,
that's the thing. Sometimes like you have to, most of the times you have to do the things that you have to do. But something you want to chase would be something that you want to do, right? That's
exactly.
chasing.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, actually, you said, the thing you wanna turn the things that you want to do into things that can make money. Uh, and that is a great thing to do if you can do it, but I would say that everything doesn't have to be about making money well. Like, if you just have something that you're truly passionate about, like, I don't know, maybe I'm completely making this up. Maybe I'm really passionate about, whittling ducks out of wood. I
Okay,
just love to do it. I love whittling. I don't actually actually, okay, with me, chess. I love playing chess,
right.
but chess isn't something that I would ever pursue as a way to make money
Yeah,
because I know that even if I studied, 12 hours a day, I'm not going to get to a good enough level where I can make money playing chess.
right.
But it's still something I do for fun and enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
what perspective I was coming from was you want to eventually build a life, you want to chase a life. So let's say for your own example, right? Chess. We're gonna talk a lot about chess because you are really good at it. What's your elo right now?
I took a drop recently.
What was what was your top max elo?
I was like 1320 for a little
13.
while, but now I'm
Oh,
back into the 1200s, like 1240.
yeah. So, but what I was saying was, yes, for your own example, you like playing chess, good at it. At some point, of course, there's no possible way. At this point, you're gonna be a GM or something. Right? It's not
Right.
gonna happen. But that's not the only way to make money, right? Right now, there's people who are, and this is not for me suggesting you how to make money off of
Oh
chess.
yeah,
Of
yeah, no,
course
for
not.
sure.
But this is what my perspective is. So, like, eventually, you want to create a life where you're just doing things that you want to do. So, if you like playing chess, and if you like playing chess for 2 hours, it's also depending on how much you like, how much time you spend, right? Like, if you love spending 3 hours on chess every day, man, just start streaming. Just start, like, you know what I mean. Like, if you want to make money, that's what my
Yeah.
point. The point should be you love doing you love playing chess. You love playing chess for 3 hours. And like yeah, you're right. It's not everything is about money. But I think this is just thinking in terms of money, because
Yeah, yeah.
like end
And
of the
yeah,
day, for me, my goal is to like whatever things I'm doing in my life. Because I think my current life is pretty good as well. That's good. But working in IT, doing things on the side. I recently bought my own house, so like I'm comfortable on a private space, and I get to do my things. So like I
yeah.
feel like I'm already starting to build a life where I am where I want to be. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
for sure.
with podcasting, I'm not going to be making money for I don't know how long. So for now, I'm still doing it as a passion, as a knowledge gaining from people. People like you, different people, type of people.
Oh, 100%.
And then putting it out there, putting it out there, putting it out there. But that's not to say that if I'm becoming good at it, and if I know that a lot of people outside does not does not have that skill of making podcasts, does not have that particular skill, and I have that skill. So and I've already spent all that time on that skill, then it would be a smart decision for me to make money off of. That's
Oh,
just that's
100%.
just me being
100%.
smart in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I have seen I've seen people. I've seen this guy on YouTube. I don't know if you know this channel, but do you know the Outdoor Boys channel? Like, there's
No,
this
I'm not
guy.
familiar.
There's this guy who loves camping. Lives in somewhere around Alaska. I
Yeah.
don't know where he lives exactly, but I've seen some videos where that's where he mentioned lived at the time. So
Right.
this guy basically goes to like winter camping, like camping to all those places every weekend. He loves going to camp, loves going to camp. And then he was already doing it for like five. I don't know how long he was doing it for, but then like I know that his YouTube channel did not start the to make money off of camping. He was already camping, like he was already passionate about camping and everything. Then he realized he could just take his camera with it, film
Yeah.
some, put that out there. He has now like I think like 10, 15 million subscribers. All he does is go out camping every weekend, different spots, and he films himself. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
no,
think his goal
that's
is to
great.
like, yeah, I don't think his goal is to do it all stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the point I was trying to make earlier was that, like, making money if you could take what you love to do and make it into a moneymaker, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it's worthwhile to be able to do things without having the goal of making money.
Yeah,
Is
oh,
what I mean.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. You should not start because it's not gonna go good. You know, you
Yeah.
because you're already doing your full time thing, and then on the side you're doing something. You're spending all that extra energy, time from your day to to something where your end goal is just to make money. It's not gonna be. Your
Exactly.
approach to that is not gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to say is that, you should be able to do something because you enjoy doing it, not because you're trying to make that be your breadwinner.
Yeah,
If it can turn into that, and if you still enjoy doing it, then absolutely.
absolutely. But I
Yeah.
get you. I get your point too. But
Yeah.
at very if that point comes where you start enjoying it and make money off of it, but when that point comes where even though you're making money but you stop enjoying, you should stop making money. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not good.
Yeah.
Chess.
Yes.
Man, it's I have had so many. I'm like I got into chess for a little bit. It's like it's an on
Yep.
and off for me. I love chess. I love playing chess. I'm not so much passionate about it. I'm not really good at it. I'm like a 500-600 elo. But
Right.
that's like the max I've reached at. Um
And that's perfectly respectable.
yeah.
Like,
And I already know about chess, but then I got like really involved. I was like a very, very beginner, even from beginner to little further in the beginner level where I reached.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
from 300 elo to 600 elo, all that knowledge was um, you suggesting me, YouTubers and the things where I could look into and
Right.
play. We've always played, and obviously there's no chance where I've I still wish that I win one day, and I still target that. Um,
One day,
uh,
man. One day.
one day when you stop playing, and one day when I start playing, and I play
Maybe I'll
for a
visit
long,
you
long
get hit
time.
on the head on the way out the plane.
Um,
uh,
so not to talk about what I want to learn is how come you've not pursued, like how do you not, and my question comes to why do you not think of making money off of it, man?
well, just because, like I said, it's something I do for fun. And the thing about chess is, so right now you call yourself at 500-600 elo a beginner, right?
Yeah,
And chess is such a brutal game. It doesn't allow for any ego because, like, a few months ago, I was in like the 1300 range, and I felt like, okay, I cracked it. I'm good at this game. I was seeing everything. And then, like, a week later, I booted up a game and I lost like 8 games in a row. And I'm losing to people rated like barely 1200, 1150. And you're like, what is happening? So, the thing about chess is that you can always get better, you can always improve, and you can always lose. So, like, you consider yourself a beginner, and you probably look at me and be like, "Oh man, this guy's like probably advanced level, right?"
yeah,
And I look at myself and I'm like, "Okay, I'm like in the probably the top end of the beginner level, but maybe I'm just cracking intermediate, you know?"
yeah. Oh yeah, I know it goes, because I know it goes. This is heavy. And it's very, very popular now too.
It
That's
is, yeah.
another thing. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why more people are getting into it and stuff. I feel like it was much, much different, much less competitive, much less harder. I wouldn't say easier. It was
Yeah.
much less harder a couple years ago than like
Oh,
in
there's
last.
definitely been elo inflation in recent years. Like, if I was playing at the level I play at now, 4 years ago, I would probably be like 1500 rated.
Yeah.
But, that's just how it goes.
Do you think playing chess? I mean, again, I know you do it for fun. There's no, so it's like my question is, do you think playing that um on a time pass time helps you with your other things where you're passionate about?
Oh, absolutely.
How?
It it's just, well, chess is all about strategic thinking and planning, right? It's about analyzing a situation in front of you and figuring out the best moves to get forward. It teaches you those skills.
Right, but how do you
And
implement that in life? How do you? also knowing. Sorry. So yeah, how do you implement that in life?
Yeah. So like it's like on a metaphorical level, It's not I'm not literally okay, like
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
say
you don't
yeah,
implement that in your life, obviously, but do you
yeah,
think
but
that
like
it
let's say
helps?
I'm at work and I'm looking at the team and I'm like, okay, we need to get this task done. What's the best way to get it done? And then I think about it, use that strategic plan, thinking, okay, if he does this, then she can do that and I can do this. And if it all goes perfectly, it'll go here. Oh, but what if that person, maybe they mess up a little bit? Okay, if they mess up, I can pivot and help them pivot back, stuff like that. So it helps you get those pathways in your mind. It helps you learn how to think strategically and how to problem solve, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that will be how I use that in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'm not literally thinking, "All right, this guy's the knight, this she's the queen, let's do this." It's more of the metaphorical
Yeah.
planning things out and figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not like that. Of course not. But it's also because what perspective I come from. Now this is me addressing to the viewers. Um, what you do on your free time is also what impacts on what you do on your non-free time. So, because for me, for the longest time, doing and working, like I was spending my full time in productive things, but then when I had free time, it was just all non-productive. Like that's not to say I'm like a huge like no, I'm still not there at all. But something that switched in my head was I was wasting when I was wasting my time on my free time. And then eventually I started realizing about how I'm spending that free time on, then how I can even make that free time a little productive. Anyway, in any way, I have to figure that out. And it was a long process, of course. But I started realizing that I should start spending my free time in a way where I don't um, I don't waste it. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to you?
Oh,
Does it make sense?
100%,
Yeah.
100 that definitely makes sense, and off of that same point, it's also a good thing to note there is value in taking some of that free time and wasting it. Like
Yeah.
when you're resting, rest time isn't wasted time.
There's no waste time. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Free time.
like
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with I don't know. Like say you're productive all week. There's nothing wrong with taking a few hours on a Sunday to veg out on the couch and
No.
play video games or watch Netflix or
No.
whatever.
In fact, you
Yeah,
need that, man. I
yeah.
feel like, in fact, you need that.
You'll go
That.
crazy without it.
Yeah. 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 No. No. You go. Yeah. You need that. That's I put that into recovery spot. So it's a
Yeah,
productive, but it's a
yeah.
recovery. I'm recovering for my
Yes.
next week and things like that. So that's productive. That's not a waste of time. For me,
Right.
how I see it, if I'm sitting down on my laptop watching an episode, maybe watching two episodes or
Yeah.
watching anything, that's a waste of time for me. It's just my perspective. But then
Right.
if
Oh,
I
yeah.
if I do the same thing, Netflix and chilling and all that, let's say if I do that in the Sunday evening, same example, with my wife or my family, that's a productive time for me.
Right.
Because I'm
Yeah.
because that time I'm spending in my family, like together with my family. That's
Oh,
how I
yeah.
see. That's my free time.
Absolutely.
So like for me, I still don't sit down and like that's just but man, recharging, covering it's not like you have to wake up, like you have to sleep at 1 o'clock at night, wake up at 5 o'clock, sleep for 4 hours and go. No, no. You have to sleep for 8 hours. If your body needs if your body needs 8.5, man, go for it. Not like I'm not to judge who is it, who's who to judge, right? It is not
Exactly.
whatever
Yeah.
works for you. But my
Yeah.
point is, don't like free time, try and see that you're not wasting. That's it.
Oh, I agree with you 100% on that. I don't think anybody would argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the
And as long as you're enjoying your free time, then it's not wasted.
it's not wasted, man. Anytime you enjoy it, it's not wasted. Anytime you enjoy it, it's not wasted. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
right?
The
Depending how you define enjoyment. So
yeah, yeah. The waste of time is when you're, vegged out, doom scrolling on Instagram or Reddit or whatever you like to use.
yeah, yeah,
That's a that's a
that's
waste of time. But
That's
you can
amazing.
turn that productive. You can turn that doom scrolling on Instagram into, I'm gonna specifically look up accounts that do this thing that I like and want to learn more about.
There you go. That's what I
But
figured when I started doing podcasting and stuff. Um, I figured that during the week, anytime I had free time, after I come home, whatever, like I'm sitting around, like, I just find myself, and I guess this is a problem with everybody right now. A lot of people find yourself scrolling through, Instagram, stuff like that. You just keep on scrolling, keep on scrolling. I figured if I had to scroll anyways, if I'm wasting that time on Instagram anyways, might as well look up for exactly what you just said. Might as well look up for accounts, spend the time. I would still be in Instagram. I would still be scrolling something. It would
yeah,
just be not a waste that I'll be scrolling. It would just not be movie clips and motivational clips I'll be scrolling. That's not helpful. It
for
is, but
sure.
not as much. Not for
Yeah,
2 hours. But I would
yeah,
rather start scrolling those accounts if I can find something interesting, maybe reach out to them, and then see if I can have a conversation with them.
yeah.
So like that's kind of what I mean by not.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So now we're gonna talk a little bit about geographical side of things. A lot of
Okay, yeah,
people here in Toronto, the viewers I have back home, and even a lot of people locally, they have very very less clue about what's going on in Atlantic, what's going on.
yeah.
And I came here, and it was a lot of people were asking me, and it's so sad. They did not even know where PI is, and these are people who were born
Yeah.
here, and I'm like, how is that even? How do you not know? How do you not study geography? Like how do you, it's like you don't have to. How do you not know? Tell me how's PEI, and where are you based off of right now?
I mean, yeah, I'm still on PEI, like living in Charlottetown. So
Yeah,
that's the capital city.
it's so PEI is on the way in the east coast of Canada. So if you see Canada as a map, it's like a wider map all the way in the east coast called PEI. There's more Atlantic provinces, so New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and all those provinces. I mean, they call it the Atlantic bubble, right? What's an Atlantic bubble?
I mean, that's not really a term that I'm super familiar
Yeah,
with over
yeah.
here. That's
So
not something we.
this term I think came in when COVID hit. I think it was only specific to COVID. So the
Okay.
Atlantic bubble was three provinces: PI,
Yeah, like
New
yeah,
Brunswick,
PEI,
and
Nova Scotia, New
the
Brunswick. Yeah,
Atlantic provinces. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know why they call them bubble, though, but yeah,
I mean, it could just be because life is a lot slower out here.
yeah.
Separated from the rest, especially um in Canada. Quebec is kind of the province that has the stigma about it, like the general like, oh, nobody likes Quebec, right? So maybe that's what kind of causes it. You have that break where Quebec separates the Atlantic region from the rest of the country. So
Yeah. I've never seen it that way.
I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
purely speculating here.
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you mean because it's not. I wouldn't say it's what because Quebec is how it falls. The geographical side is Quebec's come kind of in the center, and it's different because Quebec entirely is different than all the other provinces. Quebec has their own rules, um, and their own like Quebec's rules are different than the other provinces, right? And then that's how so all the other provinces, and then Quebec, and then all the other rest of the provinces. It's kind
Yeah.
of like that. So all the other provinces has pretty much the same rule. Federal falls under it, and all the provinces are. But then there's Quebec, which is like a lot of French people, um, completely different language, completely different rules, completely different not a constitution, but it's still part of Canada.
They have
But
their own political party.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
plus and minus, right? So it's
Yeah.
one of those things.
Yeah.
I think
And,
that's
and if
why.
you ever see a sweepstakes online, like or like on TV or something for a contest, it always says like available in Canada except Quebec.
Yeah, and it's the same thing when we had to, because I come from an international student perspective. So, and it's different. And it's not just, I don't think it's just the international students. I think it's rules in general. Anytime I try to like fill up a form or anything that I present to the Canadian government, there's always a portion that's separate for Quebec. There's for Quebec residents
Yes.
only, or like so they have their own. separate. Everything is separate, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
people, like everything is separated. Still part of the Canada, but it's different. So I guess that's why they don't. Atlantic is not as much noticed and popular. But man, when I was there, the the summers that PI has is amazing, right? The winters are a little crazy. Everything shuts down.
They can be, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the biggest complaint that people have about PEI is just nothing to do. But if you know where to look, you can always find something to do.
What do you
Just
mean?
not past 10 p.m.
It's the same in Ottawa too. I think there's only a few cities in Canada. So I think there's like Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Edmonton, couple more cities which has things happening past 10 p.m. I think the
Mhm.
rest nothing. Like even like I said, same for Ottawa, right? Ottawa is the capital city. Um, oh, I don't know by the way if you know, but I moved to Ottawa from Toronto.
Oh,
I was in
I didn't know
Toronto.
that. No.
So sorry, I was in Toronto. I moved to Ottawa. And this was only a few months back, not even six,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
8 months. But and I bought a house here in Ottawa.
Nice.
So me and my wife, we live here. We have our friends and family. So it's different. Ottawa is different than Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel like the same thing that you feel in PI. It's not a whole lot of things happening here. But because I compared that to Toronto, that's you know,
Right. Of course.
yeah. So it makes sense. But what do you mean by if you look around, there's enough things happening?
Oh, I just mean like if you know where to look for things. Like there's a popular magazine here called The Buzz.
Hmm.
I don't know if that kind of thing exists in other provinces. I'm sure it does, but it's a magazine. You can get it for free at pretty much any restaurant around here. And it just has listings of all different events that are happening
Oh, right, like events and
around
stuff.
PEI in Charlottetown specifically.
Mm,
So you can always, if you want to find something to do, you can
yeah.
find something. But if you're just the kind of person that's like, the only things you like to do is go out to the clubs and go see a movie, then there's not going to be as much here.
Yeah, makes
We do have
sense.
a movie theater. We're not that backwards.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the only thing I feel like was different was for the youngsters, for the young people. It's not a lot of happening. Why? Because young people
Yes.
are passionate. You're supposed like you don't have a lot of the young people has a lot of time. You're supposed to build do things young. It's different when you're like not so young. You have to relax, less things off of your plate, and it makes sense. But for like the young people, there's not much happening in terms of because I come from IT perspective, so I only talk about
Yeah.
IT, corporate environment, and all that. Right? There's not a whole lot of big companies and stuff like that. But like, that's not to say that there's nothing there. No, that man, when I was there, it was there's just because there was no IT, I couldn't stay there. Right? Other than that, there's businesses, there's everything else is there. It's
Yeah,
just
and it's about as well, like, you came here, I don't like, as an outsider more, like, you didn't grow up here,
no, yeah,
so you don't have that knowledge of the area, so for you to find things to do, it will be much, much harder
yes, exactly,
than somebody
exactly.
who grew up here to find things to do. Uh, that's one of the biggest complaints I think about PEI specifically, is that the people that live here, like, if you come from outside, we have a term here called, "from away."
Mm.
So it's like if you see somebody, you're like, "Oh, you from here? You from away?"
Ah, okay.
And, so people will be very polite to you and they'll be nice, but breaking into those groups can be really difficult for people
Yeah.
on the side.
Oh, yeah. Because it was different when I went there. I felt that too. If I was from there, it would be very very much different to me. Maybe if I would have stayed there for the longest time, 10, 20 years, I don't know, then I would have known more. I would have much. I would have more knowledge of what the whole place is about, what it's how I can get the whole most out of it. Right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. How's the winters over there right now?
Not too bad. I know, you're not there anymore, but Toronto got hit hard. Was
Yeah.
Ottawa also hit hard in
Yeah.
that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a bit of weather here. Actually, we're supposed to have a storm tonight.
Yeah. Same. I think it has already started for us.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
If you're getting it now, I'll get it in a few hours by the time it makes its way over here, but I was
Yeah,
actually a little bit worried about doing this because
yeah,
if it started too early, power might go out, internet might
yeah,
go down, but
yeah.
it's
It's
still pretty calm here. I haven't had any big wind gusts.
yeah.
Uh,
When I
we had
was.
like really bad freezing rain the other day.
Oh
Yeah. So like when I went out to do the driveway, the the snow, the entire top layer was frozen.
man,
So it took a
yeah.
little bit of extra effort to break through that. But other than that, no, winter's fine.
I feel like
Nest a
it's.
little bit.
I feel like it's more on a windier side because it's an island, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
it snows, but then it snows combined with wind, and it makes it bad. So it's like slippery, and there's black ice.
Yeah, yeah. Like in Ontario, you'll get like 30 centimeters of snow. But here, we'll get 10 centimeters in really high wind. So the 10 centimeters is almost worse than the 30 because of the way it's all blowing around. You can't see 5 feet in front of you.
Yeah. Um, that also reminds me that TI has the one of the longest bridges that connect inter provincially, right? Um,
Yes, I don't. It's one of the longest non-suspension bridges.
not one of the longest non-suspension bridges.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's at one time. I think it was the longest one in the world. I'm not sure if it still is.
Man, it's I don't think it is anymore, but it's how's the it's like 24 kilometers, right? It's like something like that, like
Something like
24,
that. I could
25.
find out very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. We can look for it.
Yeah,
Fix my hair by then.
yeah. It's 12.9 kilometers.
12 kilometers. So 12 kilometers
Yeah,
of
13 basically.
13 kilometers of just bridge. I want to talk about that experience when I was traveling through that bridge back and forth to the people. It's if you have not seen videos, you probably should watch videos, photos of it. But basically, what it is 11, 13 kilometers of just bridge. Um, so this bridge that connects basically PEI to the rest of Canada, uh, just one big bridge.
Yeah, and
And
when I was looking it up there, it is the longest bridge in the world that travels over ice-covered water.
there it is. Yeah,
So,
thir-
non-suspension,
yeah,
freestanding.
13
So,
kilometers. Basically, the moment you start driving and you pass like 1 kilometer or something, you don't see anything except water, man. Just
yeah.
water all over the place, left and right. There's big, huge walls,
Yeah,
the
there's a
bridge
barrier
walls.
on either side that
The
goes
yeah,
up to
so
about window height on your car,
exactly.
depending
So
on
you
what kind
don't
of car you drive.
yeah you don't see a lot, but yeah, then it gets scary. It gets
Yeah.
scary at a point because for 13 kilometers, just gotta go, keep on going. Water, like not through water, but above water. You
Yeah,
just gotta
yeah,
keep going. It's an amazing experience to have.
yeah. And if you ever get a chance to drive over that bridge in like a semi truck, like an 18-wheeler kind of thing, take it
Oh,
because that is awesome because you can just see fully over the barrier. Like
yes,
it's a
yeah.
great experience.
I had a sedan, that's why I couldn't ski, but then it
Yeah.
was scary. Um,
Or even
and
on a
then
bus. A
or
bus
bus,
you'd
yeah,
be high enough up to see.
yeah. And this bridge um connects Canada to PI, and like how it works is if it's like winter time and if the weather or if time the weather kind of goes bad, you have to keep an eye every time you're traveling through that bridge, so in and out of PI, you have to keep an eye on the website and make sure that the bridge is open.
Yes.
otherwise otherwise what happens, Matt? Tell us.
Well, if you're not, if the bridge is closed, then you get there and you got to turn around to go home. I
You just
mean,
gotta keep otherwise things
or
goes.
wait.
Yeah, you just wait things because there's been times in winter times where the bridge is closed for like 2 days, right? Things
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
rare that it's completely shut down, but quite often, if with high winds, it'll be shut down to high-sided vehicles. So,
Mm.
like transport trucks and everything won't be able to cross it, but cars will still be allowed to cross. I think it was 2015. We had what we called snowmageddon over here, and this is the year we had like 80 centimeters of snow coming down over the course of like a week and a half. Like the whole island was shut down for like 3 weeks because of this thing.
Man,
And places where like grocery stores were running out of food because we couldn't get transport trucks in to bring things. It was a wild, wild winter.
Why do you think? I know there's college and university over there and stuff like that, right? I
Yeah.
was always wondered why would people or youngsters from university such. Is it a thing where after they pass out of university, like look for jobs and stuff, like high paying, whatever, they leave the island and they go to the bigger cities, like how it is normally?
Yeah.
And
I mean, one of the biggest things in PEI, I'm not sure if it's like this currently because I'm not really in the space where I'm looking at it, but when I was growing up, one of the really popular things that people would do is, you'd grow up here and then you would go to Alberta and work the oil field.
right,
And you
yeah,
would work there, you'd make a bunch of money. They get paid a lot more there compared to here. So a lot of people would end up living and working out there and then coming back here to retire. Or actually, one of my neighbors, before he retired, he would work in Alberta for 2 weeks, and then he'd be back home for a week, and then he'd 2 weeks and 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and he'd come back and forth between there and here.
okay,
Yeah, so that was something that some people did. But it's is very common for people to leave the island and go somewhere else. But a lot of people born here will come back here for the
yeah.
retirement.
It
It's like
makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah.
It's an awesome place to retire. I mean, I always, um, I always joke about it here. And not, it's not for like it's always. I always say that when I went to PI, something that I noticed was the retirement life over there. Awesome. I always joke that I always want to go back to PI to retire. I don't want to stay.
Yeah, for
uh,
sure. And it'd be a lot cheaper here too for that.
and then I'm gonna go to A&W and bother everybody.
Man,
But yeah,
nobody's even left there from our time, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I'm gonna hope to call Gagan and Hardeep. Um, at some point in future, if I hope I visit over there on the west coast, I might go and do it in person because I have to visit Alberta anyways at some point in my life.
Yeah.
I have to go
Oh,
seeing
for
them.
sure.
So I plan to do those podcasts with them in person. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know we had to cover a lot of topics. I mean, there's still more to talk about. I still had a lot of things. I usually keep notes. I gave you
Yeah.
those little questions because just so you can prepare ahead of time,
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
you know, it's, it's. I always feel like it's rather than doing it in improv, because not everybody has practice of speaking. Like you've been awesome with, and all the other guests are. But I know that at some point I'm like, not everybody's comfortable with long speaking, and I know that those people do have a lot of things in their life, in their experiences, in their head that they can throw out, but maybe they just need to spend some time and think about it. You know what I mean? Like there's experiences,
Right.
there's always, but if I talk to you about it right now, I might miss some. But then if I have time ahead, then I can think of things and speak about it. That's why I kind of like those little questions or little
Oh, I know.
pointers.
Absolutely. That's the way to
Yeah,
do it. And that's pretty much industry standard for any kind of interview I've ever done with other places. Usually
right.
you get the questions ahead of time so you can
Yeah.
prepare for it. But
Yeah, what I like to do is I just like to give the pointers. So like I gave you
yeah.
those little pointers of like A&W, like talking about life, and this and that. Then I
Yes.
also have a lot of questions that I prepare that I don't share, of course. That
Oh,
I just
100%.
think about all the time about this podcast. I'm like, okay, how's this working? How's that? And then if I just put it down in my notes, and I try to not go question by question. I try to just go through the conversation, and I try to include those questions in the conversation.
Of course.
um, so it's not like a thing where I give questions to like the guest, prepare, and then it's not open
Oh, yeah.
free
You
flow
want it to come off as
conversation.
natural.
Yeah, and I think we still missed a lot of points that I gave it to you, but I don't. There's no regrets. Um, I know there's a lot of information that we could have still gotten out of you, uh, and I hope to do this in long future for sure. More episodes. Is there anything that you think that we might have missed that you want to speak about?
No, I think for the most part, everything that I could have thought of to cover
Yeah.
has been covered. If you gave me a bunch of time, I'm sure I could think of other things, but off the top of my head, I think we've had a very productive conversation
Yeah, I think so
here.
too. One thing I ask everybody, like a generic thing, is there something that like all these learnings, whatever you've been through, right? Is there anything that you want to say to our viewers, um, which they can implement, like a generic thing, a message, a quote, anything?
Yeah. Uh, you know what? This is a quote from a high school teacher of mine that after I've heard it, it kind of stuck with me and really helped shape my life. And I'm going to have to explain it after I say the quote, but he said, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And and that's actually a really good message because what it's saying is you can just go out and do things. And if you're failing or if you're making an idiot of yourself, nobody is really going to remember. Like you will remember it, but think of everybody has had times in their life where they've done something embarrassing. Like, I don't know, you're walking, you trip up the stairs, and some people see it and they laugh. But a week later, nobody's thinking, hey, remember that guy who tripped up the stairs? What an idiot. So just, I try to live my life with that nobody cares mentality. So that way I'm not afraid to, you can just give everything your all, go out in the public eye. Don't be afraid to make yourself. And yeah, just keep pushing forward.
This is awesome. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope to do this again.
Thanks for having me on.